You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good to see you guys.
Good to be here.
For today's topic, I want to revisit something, Kirk, that you talked about a while ago, back in episode 96.
I have no memory of what happened in 96. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. At least not as long ago as 1996, but episode 96 was still a while ago. That was the one where you talked about how scientists made a slime mold reproduce the network of the Tokyo subway system.
Yes. Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah,
okay,
that was
yeah.
such a cool one. I re-listened to it. And I wanted to talk more about slime molds because they are such strange and fascinating organisms. And you talked a little bit about them as you were setting up to talk about how they recreated the Tokyo subway system. Which obviously listeners, if you're curious and you
anyone who hasn't yet heard that is like, what are you talking about?
Go on back.
Now you gotta listen.
But there's a lot more to them. And just to review first, slime molds are not a mold. They're not any kind of fungus, in fact. They are a type of protist, which in itself is just basically a catch-all term for any eukaryotic organism that is not a plant, an animal, or a fungus.
It's all of that
Yeah, we'll just call it a protist.
Put it in this other group.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense, really. But, slime mold, that name, as we kind of mentioned in your episode, Kirk, it's a bit of a branding problem.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound the most appealing.
You can say that again.
Yes. They are found all over the world, but they're mostly found on land. There are a few aquatic species, apparently. They're often in shady forested areas, but they can also be found in deserts and even in the Arctic under the snow.
Cool.
And they're weird because, as we mentioned last time, they really don't fit very well into our existing boxes.
Little box.
They can move. Right. Yeah, they can move like an animal. They sort of look like a fungus and kind of reproduce similar to a fungus in some ways. They look sort of like mold or mushrooms, depending on what species you're looking at. And Kirk, you had mentioned in that episode that they can exist as single-celled organisms, but also multiple individuals can band together and act as one.
Yeah.
And that is true, but not all slime molds do that. And I want to talk about another group of slime molds.
Okay.
That does something equally, if maybe not even more strange. So this group is called Myxomycetes. And to talk about what they can do, I'm going to start off with the slime mold life cycle a little bit. So slime molds grow from a spore. A spore is haploid, meaning it only has one set of chromosomes. And once the spore lands in the right kind of environment with enough moisture and the right temperature and all that, it can germinate and it starts dividing just asexually. And it can produce a cell that can move around. And actually, you get a choice. If the area is relatively dry, it can start to move like an amoeba, spreading those cell extensions called pseudopods out.
Pseudopoda, yeah.
Okay.
If it's in a relatively wet area, it grows flagella and starts whipping those around and moving around like that.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
All based on what the environment is like.
And
That's
they
wild.
call these they call them myxoamoebae or myxoflagellates.
Okay.
Which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
These are microscopic. They're single-celled. They move around and they eat really small things like the spores of bacteria and fungi. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Actually, if conditions become too dry or too cold or too hot, they can go into a dormant phase called a microcyst. and they basically just like create a hard shell and then just hang out until conditions get better for a year.
That's so cool.
Longer, possibly.
Yeah.
But then like if they're in this micro myxoamoeba or myxoflagellate phase, if the two of the same type meet and whatever conditions are correct, they can join together. I guess it's sort of a form of sexual reproduction to form a diploid zygote, like another cell with two sets of chromosomes. And this is where things get really weird.
Oh, this is where it gets weird. I thought it was already wild.
Yeah. No. This was just the warm-up. The nucleus of this zygote cell divides. So this happens in cells in your body, every creature's body, all the time. The nucleus divides and then the cell divides. So you get one cell dividing into two. Okay, but here, only the nucleus divides. And the cell just keeps getting bigger as it eats stuff, and then it's a giant cell with many, many nuclei.
What?
Oh.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not how that's supposed to work.
I mean, but I guess it can work that way, right?
Yeah. It's called a multinucleate organism. It's called a plasmodium. That's what it's called. A plasmodium.
Oh, sure. Okay, I've heard of plasmodium, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you're thinking, okay, so it's a little bigger, it's got a few extra nuclei. No, these guys can get enormous. They can grow to be many centimeters across. Single giant cells.
Single cell, yeah.
Yeah. So there is one called Briffeldia maxima, common name, tapioca slime mold.
Is it big? Is it the size of tapioca?
Oh, it's bigger than tapioca.
Oh, no.
I mean, I guess it depends how much tapioca you eat.
After this, none.
So I could not find a scientific paper verifying this or like a very reputable source, but I did read in a couple places that there was an individual of this species that they found that covered a square meter, was like a centimeter thick, and weighed about 20 kilograms.
No.
A single cell.
No.
This is just straight out of Dungeons and Dragons here.
Yeah,
this
is
a slime cube.
Yeah.
Gelatinous cube, right, yeah.
I'm glad we both went there to gelatinous cube. It's really reassuring.
Reassuring, yeah. I mean, it's luckily it's only a centimeter thick, so we're probably okay.
Well, I hate to tell you, but they can move.
No.
They can move. There it is.
Nope.
Yep.
We're not safe, Kirk. Run.
And you sort of might wonder, like, if it's a cell that big, how does it function?
Roll for initiative, Rachel.
Oh, God.
They use something called cytoplasmic streaming, which is a rhythmic movement within the cell. So the cytoplasm is the fluid that is in the middle of the cell. So it just like moves. You can actually see videos of this online if you can see the stuff moving through the cell, which is pretty amazing. And it also allows I think part of that movement is what allows it to move across the landscape. Slowly, but they do move. And they're still mostly eating like bacteria, other protists, fungi, little bits of organic substances. A lot of them are decomposers, although there are some parasitic slime molds.
Good.
Not of animals, as far as I've read, but like some plants, other types of protists. Yeah. Okay, so you got the plasmodium crawling slowly around. And finally, when it's ready for whatever makes them happy, it
crawls across your face while you sleep.
Oh, God.
Suffocates you.
Mostly they're on like rotting logs.
No, did I get that part wrong?
Oh.
They're mostly like on down trees and stuff like that.
Sure.
Okay.
But it forms fruiting bodies, which are outgrowths that can produce spores. And this is really where they often look like fungi.
Sure. Yeah.
These can often look like a little pod on top of a stalk. And then once it's sort of ripe, I guess you could say, it bursts open and the spores can be distributed by wind or water or little insects or whatnot. And I really recommend you go online and look some pictures because slime molds can come in some amazing colors. They are, slimy, but they can be white
Sure.
or pink or yellow or orange. Some are even kind of bluish. Some are clear. Some can be quite beautiful. For example, I found this
We'll have
species
some on our
called
Instagram.
Ceratiomixa. Yeah, we'll have some on our Instagram. Ceratiomixa fruticulose. Cool name. And it looks like sort of delicate tendrils of frosted glass.
Ooh.
It's like
Wow.
clearish white. Yeah.
Cool.
And there's also some really good macro photography, close-ups of the fruiting bodies. It can be incredibly beautiful. There's one that's like an iridescent sort of dark purplish blue.
Cool.
It's like a bolt, just like a Christmas bauble or something.
Ooh.
And there are actually a few photographers out there who really specialize in slime mold photography.
That tracks.
Of course there are.
So I
Yeah.
would recommend the work of Alison Pollack and Kim Soo Tan. Both have really good slime mold photography. That's all I have about slime molds. I just thought they were so interesting, and the whole Plasmodium giant creeping cells thing just blew my mind. So I had to share
that's
it with all
wild.
of you.
Very cool.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thanks for the follow-up and expansion.
Absolutely. My main source this week was Wikipedia, I will say. I did kind of delve into some field guides and so forth, but
Cool.
we're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, it'll be Kirk's turn.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Look, I try to be social once in a while, get out of the house.
Yeah.
And for about 20 years or so, I've been going to an event called Birds and Beers. It was started by my friend Sharon, who wanted to meet other birders somewhere other than an Audubon Society meeting, which were full of old people. And fun fact, 20 years later, we're not slowly becoming those old people.
Isn't it fun?
But Birds and Beers is still going strong. Yeah, it's real fun. And all these years later, I still try to get there and attend it. Don't get to every single one, but last week I attended one, and to my surprise, Birds and Beers was not the only group meeting at this particular establishment that night. Just in the next room over, closer to the bar, I might add, were the Minnesota Skeptics, a fine group of scientifically minded folks, some of whom I know pretty well.
Yeah.
Shout out to one of our listeners, Craig. Craig is a member of both of these groups, and also, I said, a listener, so has only the
Craig.
finest taste. And Craig popped over to the bird side of the restaurant now and then. And when I saw him, he presented me with a question that had actually come up next door at the Minnesota Skeptics meeting. And it had to do with snakes and pedantry. So apparently he knew exactly who to come talk to. Now, the word pedantry is a word that comes up from time to time on the show. So let me be crystal clear. A pedant is a person who is excessively concerned with the minor details and rules, or in other words, exactly our kind of people.
I don't know anybody like that. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Now, if someone is being a pedant or pedantic, they are
Literally-
obsessing over all the little tiny details and wanting to get things just right.
Literally did this with my berries episode. How strawberries are not actually berries. Like, oh my God.
That is a very pedantic episode. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. If you've ever uttered the phrase, actually, you are a pedant.
Yes.
So, to a pedant, the details are everything. Whereas to an outsider, maybe the details are secondary. You don't need to think about it quite so much. Now, when it comes to snakes, the big issue that comes up is with the word poisonous, right?
Oh.
You see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Naturalists like myself are usually pretty pedantic about this word. Snakes, we tell people,
Yep.
are never poisonous. They are venomous.
Yes.
Yeah. And while similar, poison and venom are technically different. A lot of people are going to go, oh, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter.
It's
and
an
that's what makes
important
people who care
distinction.
a pedant. It is. Now,
Says the pedant.
says the
I
pedant.
care.
Uh-huh. That's amazing. So just to clear things up, a poison is a substance that makes you sick when it is ingested, whereas a venom is a substance that makes you sick when it is injected. Which even just saying that, it sounds like a really stupid distinction, but it is a distinction that exists. And so snakes such as a rattlesnake, like we have here where we live, will envenomate you when you are bitten, meaning they inject venom into your body. And I've often used the example that you can, and people do, eat rattlesnakes, and the meat will not make you sick because they are not poisonous, they are venomous.
Correct.
So if we're being a pedant, and in this case, I would argue that we absolutely should be, then to be correct, we need to say that snakes can be venomous, but they are not poisonous. Now, Craig and his skeptic friends, though, wanted to see if they could out-pedant the pedants, I think. And the question that they came up with was, what about the venom glands in a venomous snake?
Yeah.
Like, if you ate those, wouldn't they be poisonous? Like, when you eat a rattlesnake, you're not eating the venom sacs or the
You
venom
probably
glands.
cut its head off.
Right.
Cut its head off, you're not going to have anything to do with those fangs and stuff, right? So you cut that up, you're just eating the rest of the meat. So they're like, come on, if you ate the whole thing, wouldn't it be poisonous?
Well, it might
And
get
so,
denatured by your stomach acids, I suppose.
God, that's the exact same answer I gave, Victoria. That's exactly what I was thinking, right? But
I said it might. It might. I haven't researched it. I don't know.
The
if
whole
this was
point of
true,
venom
right?
is that it gets into like your bloodstream. That's how it like starts to affect you.
Yeah.
It's a different mechanism if it goes down your gullet into your stomach. It changes the route.
Yeah. I had those exact same suspicions, but they're at the restaurant/bar. I'm like, how much do I want to commit to this answer? So I was like, I'm going to look into this more. Because if it's true that actually they are poisonous, they just played a huge Uno reverse card on the rest of the pedants, right? Because calling a venomous snake poisonous would actually be correct, which I think would be great. So when Craig came over to the bird side of the restaurant to ask me this very question, like I said, I had my suspicions. I didn't want to back a specific horse until I could do some reading. So this week I'm here to tell you and tell Craig, who's listening, and all the other pedants that I have an answer for you.
Oh.
Here's what I found out.
Okay.
Venom comes in three general types. There's neurotoxins, which attack the nervous system, including the brain. These usually go, toward like paralyzing the respiratory system as well.
Yep. That's how they kill you.
Yep, that's how they get you. And then up next, we have hemotoxins, which you might be able to guess from the name, affect the blood, and in turn affect the heart often because the blood and the heart are kind of,
pretty similar.
Yeah, and if it's like
not one of the same, but they kind of go
all
together.
Your blood cells, that can cause problems with your kidneys.
That can also cause problems, right? So all kinds of internal organs have a problem with those. The third major type are cytotoxins, which just paralyze muscles in general. And that's real bad. I mean, people often think like, oh, paralyzed muscles, like, so I can't move for a little bit, which is probably part of why they exist in the first place, to paralyze small animals. But these could also paralyze your lungs, paralyze your diaphragm, paralyze your heart, all these things that you need to keep your body going. So having lots of your blood paralyzed, or lots of your body, paralyzed is real bad. So all of these are bad. But one of the key things about venom is that it absolutely has to get into your bloodstream to circulate and be effective. That's just how it works. And like Victoria had hinted at, my suspicion when talking with Craig at the bar would be that the enzymes in your saliva and the acid in your stomach would probably denature and destroy venom. And from what I can find in the literature, that seems right. That does seem right. But there is one exception that is often mentioned. And it's not an exception to the fact that it will be denatured by your stomach acid. It's more of an exception to like how your stomach works. If you have an ulcer in your stomach, that is basically a direct pathway into your blood.
Oh.
So the theory, and look, we're not feeding people spoonfuls of venom or something. So this is theoretical. But theoretically, if you had an ulcer, that would be a pathway for venom to get into your bloodstream, as would any kind of cut or wound. anywhere in your mouth, your
Mhm.
esophagus, your stomach, anywhere along there. I guess probably not your intestines because your stomach acid would denature it before it got there. But yeah, so like, if we're being a pedant, and that's what this is all about, the answer is still no. You can likely eat venom and be fine. So it's still wrong to call a snake poisonous. Or is it?
Oh no.
Let's get even nerdier here.
Don't do this.
Sure, we've taken eating venom off the table, but are there any actual poisonous snakes where the snake itself is poisonous? And the answer is absolutely yes. Yes, there are. There are some snakes that will make you sick if you eat them. Now, this is a little, okay, we're even pedants, so we have to say, like, the snakes themselves are not technically creating a poison that makes them sick. Much like other animals we've discussed on the show, there are some snakes that become poisonous because of their diet and the toxins that bioaccumulate in their tissue. The sort of like poison dart frogs are not actually poisonous. And the poisonous birds that both Rachel and I talked about on the show are not actually poisonous. They're eating beetles that make them poisonous.
And there are also some animals that have symbiotic bacteria or whatnot that create the poison.
Yeah, and so in this case, one example would be there are several species of garter snakes, and we don't think of garter snakes as being poisonous, but in the western United States, some of the garter snakes eat toxic newts, and the toxins from the newts build up in their bodies, and the garter snakes themselves become poisonous to eat. And there's actually around the world, turns out a bunch of snake species like this because snakes like to eat a lot of stuff, and some of those things actually make them poisonous.
And they're nutritious.
Oh, God, that is horrible.
I hate that.
Oh, they are nutritious. That's true.
Ugh.
I love that. That's great. So to cap off this salute to pedantry, let's be clear. Are there venomous snakes? Yes. Are there poisonous snakes? Yes. They just aren't necessarily the same ones, although you can get a snake that is both venomous and poisonous. And it isn't the venom that makes the snakes poisonous. So that's what I have this week. Don't drink venom. Stay curious, Craig. Stay curious, all of you.
Brilliant. Great.
All right, we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, Rachel will be with us to cap it all off.
Woohoo! All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. So let's head on down to, this is going to sound confusing, but we're going to head down to the north central part of South America. Okay? So not quite as far
North Central.
So not as far down as like
Venezuela.
Argentina. Yeah, like Venezuela, Colombia, most of Brazil, but we're not getting down to like Chile or Argentina. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Shout out to our Brazilian listeners. I know there's not a couple of you out there.
Woo! So we're going to travel to a more wet location. Not hard to do there. Personally, I vote we go to a lagoon. We're not quite going into like the tropical rainforest space, but we are going to where it is more wet. So like a lagoon or a lake or even like a tropical wet savanna. Okay. There's grasses. It's not like heavily forested space. Okay. Personally, sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going on excursion. We are looking for, well, I'm sure we're looking for many of them, but we're looking for a particular bird. Okay.
Okay.
So as we're walking,
I'm in.
I figured you would be, Kirk. Figured you would be.
Yes.
We're looking for a particular bird. This bird, I don't know if you'll be able to spot it. Okay. It's going to be really hard to find. It's a...
Don't believe you.
It's a dark bird with dark brown feathers, with a mottled white breast. And it has like these gray feet and a white underbelly. And it's about 33 to 38 inches tall.
Oh, pretty big bird. Okay.
Oh.
So about 3
Okay, so
feet
yes, you were being
tall.
sarcastic, yes. That's a big bird.
I was. It's a big bird. In a lot of the places when I was doing research, a lot of them were like, it's a turkey-sized bird. I'm like, what? I didn't realize it was that big. Okay. They get to be about
Okay.
7.5 pounds. For those of you who are use science, it is 84 to 95 centimeters tall, and a different number of
Okay.
kilograms that I didn't convert. So like I said, they have like dark feathers. They're a white mottled breast. They have feet kind of like a turkey or chicken, and a similar like beak to a chicken. They primarily are going to be eating plants, especially water plants. So they're just herbivores.
Okay.
They have a yellow-orange eye. But most distinguishingly, this bird has it looks like a long, thin feather that gets to be about like 6 inches long, a singular long-looking feather that protrudes from its head, giving it, it looks like a
Okay.
horn. Okay, like this really fine horn.
Oh, sure.
It's not a feather.
Nice.
Oh, it's not a feather? Is it a horn?
It's actually not a feather. It is an apt description of a horn because it's cartilaginous.
Oh,
Nice.
weird.
And it's actually
Is it
pretty
wobbly?
loosely attached to the skull. It is a little wobbly, yeah. It is really wobbly. And
Is this some kind of guan?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. That's a good question. I don't think so. It's
Okay.
I will tell you the name in a little while. So it is
Okay.
this is the only bird that actually has this. There's no other bird on the planet that has this particular feature, which is pretty cool. It's cartilaginous. It's pretty loose.
Very cool.
It continuously grows and even will break off. And scientists aren't really sure what they use it for. They think it's just an ornamentation.
That's fair guess.
This is no idea, because that isn't how
Birds do like their ornamentation.
They do, because that's not how they decide mates either. So we're going to go down. I know, right? You want to know how they decide? They fight for each other's mates. They're kind of social. They'll be in small groups or pairs. And when they're searching for mates, they will fight each other. And how they fight each other is not only do they have this protrusion from their head that is useless and can't do anything, but they have sharp bone spurs on the edges of their wings, about where you would equate like a wrist. So they have bone spurs on the top part of their wings, ready to go, ready to fight each other. And they're pretty sharp, to the point where scientists have actually found broken off bone spurs in other chests of this bird species.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So this bird that we've been looking for and hopefully found is called the horned screamer.
Screamer. Oh my gosh.
Horned screamer.
Yeah. Horned screamer. So it anchors its nests and things in shallow water. And Kirk, you thought it was in what family?
Well, it sounded, at first when you're describing it, sounded almost like a guan.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the horned guan.
I've never heard of a guan.
Yeah. No. They're actually, I've talked about it, how they look a lot like a game fowl, like a chicken or a turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're closely related to ducks and geese.
Huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh. There's 3 species. Their scientific name is, Anhema cornuta, Aha! I practiced. And it's a pretty small family. There's only 3 other species of screamer. This is the only one with that protrusion. The other ones don't
Okay.
have it. They're all located in South America. And the reason why they're named that horned screamer is truly, it's not that they scream. They don't scream. They're just loud. So when they are calling, they spend a lot of their time on the ground. They can fly, but when they're calling to each other, they sound loud. So it sounds like someone yelling and screaming.
That sounds delightful.
Isn't it so fun? It's a very
Yeah.
loud, repetitive, echoing sound. It's called it can sound like, oh my gosh, I can't do the call. I can't do it. I'm not gonna try. It would be very bad.
That's for the best.
That is for the best.
Tell you what, here's what we're gonna do. In the edit, I'm gonna insert the sound here. That is really something.
Isn't that wild? Ain't that wild?
Wow.
Yeah. So it's an interesting bird. The fact that it fights with those bone spurs, and I looked at those spurs, they look horrifying. They are very sharp and like
sharp,
very sharp.
Yeah, they're sharper than I pictured when you first mentioned them.
Yeah, you don't think they're going to be very like sharp, but they absolutely are. And I think it's wild that they look like that. And they have those, and they are herbivores.
Yeah.
Like, dang. Okay.
They look, yeah, that's
Sure.
what a cool bird.
Yeah, it's a really fun little bird. Well, not little bird, it's a big bird. I want to see one. I
Big
don't
bird.
Big
want
bird.
to be near-ish. I don't want to be perceived as a threat to any of these birds. One other really interesting
Fair.
thing, I think we've talked about pneumatized bones before on the podcast, and how some birds will actually, I can't remember who talked about it, but somebody talked about how some birds will store, air in their bones. One interesting thing that horned screamers are able to do, while they don't fly often, they're able, when they do fly, they'll have like a bunch of air in their bones, and it will release to help them get some lift to fly off somehow.
What?
And it sounds crickly, crackly. It's like a loud crackling noise. The air sacs will just collapse, and it allows them to like soar long distances, so they don't have to they don't have to use as much muscle energy, but it sounds like a loud crackling noise, and it isn't caused by their voice. It is the air sacs in their bones. I know, I feel like I hid
and that somehow helps them fly.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
because it's in their bones.
Really, really weird.
It's in their bones, and it's in their skin, which is different than a lot of other birds.
Like jet propulsion? Are they like squeezing the air out?
Kind of, because think about it. Like, this is a big bird. This is a 3-foot tall bird, but it only weighs 7.5 pounds. Like, I know, like, like a turkey, that's
a lot for a bird, though.
That is a lot for a bird, but like for a 3-foot bird, you would expect it to weigh more.
Like a turkey weighs more.
Exactly.
So their bones are very, very hollow.
Yeah. So extremely hollow, and so is their skin. Yeah. So I forgot about this, and then I was trying to find a topic, and this popped back up for me, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this bird.
Wild.
Yeah. So we don't know a ton about this bird. It hasn't been really well studied. I say that. What a wild bird. Let's learn more.
Yeah, no, we'll have to hop on down to one of these many countries where it can be found.
Yeah.
Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of places.
Yeah.
So
So my sources this week were National Geographic, Birds of the World, the Cornell Bird Lab, and the University of the West Indies. All had excellent articles on the horned screamer. And then
Horned screamer, awesome.
I also used Wikipedia. That's the end of our show. We did it.
Cool, thanks everyone.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks everyone.
All right,
See you
bye-bye.
next week.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.